Real quick, looking at the season as a whole, I think there are 3 things in particular that made this show so amazing. And I want to look at the season as a whole real quick because, I think this was one of the overall less impressive episodes in the season. Good, but not great. Reason number 1 behind that being that this is, stylistically and visually speaking, one of the most impressive shows I've ever seen, much less superhero shows. I can't think of another show I've watched that really matches the crazy feeling, the style, the look of what this has done. If you have, let me know. That'd be great. But I can't really think of one I've watched that does that, and I've really enjoyed that. It's brilliant. Uniqueness in shows, art, music, all that sort of stuff. Uniqueness isn't necessarily inherently good. Uniqueness is good when it's done well. If you have something that is unique but done poorly, then it's just so different it sucks. This show is unique and very good. That's a great combination. Secondly, I think that the comic book influences that they drew from, they did a really good job with that. I mean, the origin story of the Shadow King pretty much directly out of the comics themselves. Shadow King in the show is referenced as, you know, Amal Farouk, and in the comics, Farouk was an actual host of the Shadow King. That's a little bit different, but the conflict with Charles Xavier on the astral plane, and so the motivation of the Shadow King to inhabit David's body, very, very much taken from the comic. But it's not directly from the comics. They took some liberties and they did it really well. One thing in particular, just keeping with the Shadow King, is the actual appearance of the Shadow King. In the comics, much more physically intimidating, you know, classic monster look. And in the show, they went with, you know, evil Humpty Dumpty, who giggles a lot, or evil Aubrey Plaza, who giggles a lot. But the thing that I think really makes this show, and I haven't given enough credit to so far, is Dan Stevens. We essentially watched Dan Stevens over the course of this season play 3 different characters. We saw him play sick, schizophrenic, spazzy David, where sentences were often never finished, sentences he struggled through, a lot of looking around, not really concentrating on what he was doing. Then as he went through a little bit of treatment, we saw him get more comfortable with his powers and therefore more confident. And then we had the 3rd character, and that was overconfident David. In other words, David when taken over by the Shadow King. Like when he raided the Division 3 headquarters and sent a bunch of people into walls. So Dan Stevens played the role brilliantly. He handled unwell David just as well as he handled healthy, confident David, who was trying to do the right thing. He handled morally and emotionally conflicted David, as well as he handled flat-out evil, possessed David. We saw him on the astral plane where he felt like he could do no wrong. But then we also saw him in the astral plane where he was singing Muppet songs and looked terrified. Dan Stevens, brilliant.
Yippee!